Hi, my name is Jessica Rosenstrau. This is Module 4, Understanding My Community. I chose to do Bear Creek Elementary since I've moved down here to Georgia and I'm not working right now. I taught at Bear Creek for the last 3 years, and it is in the town of Monument, Colorado. So, a little bit about Monument. It was first established in 1865. The first homesteader came there. It was later named Henry Station after the first mayor. They renamed it Monument in 1881. It still to this day has a very small town feel. It is part of the Tri-Lakes area, so it's considered when you hear about Tri-Lakes area, it's Monument, Palmer Lake, and the Woodmore area. And it is just north of Colorado Springs. Downtown Colorado Springs is about 20 miles south, and Denver is just over 50 miles north. It is right in the I-25. Interstate 25 runs straight through Monument, and it is the north to south interstate that runs in Colorado. So it's just right off that. So I included here the Palmer Lake Star, which they two families came up with putting it together in 1935. They wanted to create a Star of Bethlehem, and it was to give hope and prosperity to the motorists that travel I-25. And so it is still maintained to this day, and you can see it from the interstate as you're driving up and down at night. And they maintain it through the local volunteer fire department in Palmer Lake. Takes care of it, and they have an annual chili supper that those donations support the taking care of it. So that's something that the area is very proud of. In Monument, specifically the different events and things that they have the Great American Cleanup in the spring. We have a Memorial Day ceremony. June through August are movie nights that you can go and watch movies outside. They have the Tri-Lakes 4th of July, and then in the fall we have the Creek Week cleanup, and then in December the Monument tree lighting ceremony. I also included the website for the Tri-Lakes area, but there are so many there, and because Bear Creek's considered in Monument, I decided to focus more on Monument's information this time. So looking specifically at Monument, so the Tri-Lakes area, the population is about just over 46,000 people. In Monument, there's just over 8,000 people, and that's from the 2019 census. The education level, 93.2% are high school graduates or higher. Specifically, 63.1% have their bachelor's or higher. The breakdown of the races is right here, as you can see. Equal male to female ratio. One thing I wanted to point out was the veterans. So because we bump up, so basically Colorado Springs has exploded the last 20 years, and because of that, they're pushing north. And Colorado Springs has several military installations, as well as the Air Force Academy. And so we have 10% of our population is our veterans. We have in Bear Creek, we have a lot of families that get stationed at the Air Force Academy or retire out of the Air Force Academy. And so they live in our area and attend Bear Creek. Another thing that I found interesting was 8% of our population were born in not in America. So I thought that was kind of neat. Our English language as a second language, 10% is what in our area. Looking specifically at Bear Creek, we have 987 students this year and a staff of 112. And then looking at the breakdown of race here, you will see that it is very comparable to our population in Monument. So the majority are white, with Hispanics being next. Looking at communication, so because Monument's so tiny, our radio stations are all from Colorado Springs. Occasionally you can get a Denver station, but most of the time it's Colorado stations. News, there's 4 news channels in Colorado Springs. The Gazette is also out of Colorado Springs. It has an online component as well as a paper component, and it does offer a Spanish version as well. In Monument, we have our website that you can glean information on. You can sign up for monthly newsletters and get those delivered electronically. We also have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter accounts. Looking specifically at the district, of course, we have a district webpage. Facebook is maintained. They have a district webpage and then a PTO webpage. Our school also has its own website. Then from the school, you can access teachers' websites. Peach Jar, you can sign up for Peach Jar on the website as well, and that's our electronic flyers. So instead of wasting paper, they've gone to the electronic flyers. We also do contact families through email, phone calls, and text messaging. So that's some of the ways that we stay in contact with our families. Community groups, we have a decent sized YMCA, and they offer a lot of youth sports to our kiddos. We have Tri-Lakes Little League and softball leagues. We have a gymnastics studio called Sundance Studio in town. Church groups, we have several churches around and in Monument and one Catholic church. We have several, Colorado Springs has some mega churches on the north side of it, so a lot of our families go to those as well. And they offer all sorts of different kind of youth groups and things for our kiddos. Tri-Lake Cares is a food pantry / medical and financial assistance. They provide, basically help to any of those in need. And it takes care of just the Tri-Lakes area as well as northern Colorado Springs. And it's a great program. And a lot of people in the community volunteer there and help out there. Looking specifically at our schools, we have PTO at the elementary level and then Booster Club in the high schools. We have gifted and talented parent groups in every one of our schools. We have a district accountability advisory committee that community members can join to be a part of. We also have something called a D38 Deliberates Community Engagement, and that is small groups that come to discuss concerns and issues within our schools as well as the community. Looking at the leadership, so in town we have our mayor, the town of trustees. So, and they are elected every 4 years. The town manager, he is the chief, they call him the chief admin officer, and he oversees the operations of the town. And the town clerk, Laura Hogan, she is in charge of recording the history of the community. She also is in charge of business. She oversees business licensing and helping with conducting the elections and putting together the agenda and packets for the town hall meetings. So those are a few, and I'll go more in depth on them in just a little bit on another slide. Looking at our District 38, our school district, we have the school board who are elected members. There's 5 members on there. Our superintendent, Casey Summers, he came to us 2 years ago from Denver. He was born in Colorado Springs. He's a very outgoing gentleman. He's trying to change up some things in our community. And again, with that small town feel, you kind of have a resistance, which we'll talk about coming up. But he is very much easy to get a hold of, easy to connect with, and he really tries to be involved in not just our school, but also in the community as well. We have building administrators in our school particularly. We have 1 principal, 1 full-time assistant principal, and 1 part-time assistant principal. So, and looking at all of those, the school board, you can get a hold of them through email, and you can attend the town hall meetings as well as the school board meetings. And right now, because of COVID, everything is virtual. But if you have an issue that you'd like to bring up, you just petition and let them write them and let them know, and then you can go speak to in front of the school board at one of those meetings. They also stream them live, so you can watch them during the session, or they keep them up and you can watch them at your leisure. So that is some of the leadership. Looking at the economic conditions, so unemployment rate is 3.4% right now in Monument. And you can see the income, the ownership is pretty high. Housing value, poverty is an 8.3%. Looking at how monuments have been affected by COVID, I couldn't really find any information about businesses closing or anything. Since I've moved to Georgia, I'm not there, so I can't, I don't see it. But from what I've read, they are still doing quite well. They were talking, one of the articles I read talked about, because of the increase in the housing developments coming in, there's more and more businesses. They've seen an increase in the last couple of years on businesses coming in. So we have 5 new subdivisions that are being built right now in the Tri-Lakes area, specifically Monument. We have 1 apartment complex and 1 townhome complex. And 3 of these subdivisions, as well as the apartment and townhome complexes, will all filter into Bear Creek. So we definitely are going to see an increase in student population, student numbers as we move forward, as these houses and buildings are being built. We've seen an increase in businesses because of this. So we've had a Starbucks was built 2 years ago. An automotive center, tire center was just built. We had a gas station, a huge gas station that includes an Arby's that was built just on the other side, the west side of the I-25 corridor, with huge truck parking lots. So the truckers can stay, overnight there. They are working on putting in a new car wash in Monument. So those are some of the things that have just recently come up. And looking at Bear Creek, our free and reduced lunch is at 9%. So looking at political structure, so it's pretty hard to separate politics and education. The Board of Trustees in the town of Monument sets the policies, and then the town manager who's called the Chief Administrator Officer. He implements those policies. There is financial transparency on the Monument website. You can find all the different financial records. And then I also included here District 38's. This webpage has the financial budget, the yearly audit, the adopted budget, and our funding per pupil this year was $8,977 per student. Thinking about social tensions, so we really don't have a lot of social tensions. It's still just that small town vibe. So the community and family is so strong in this community, in this town, that you just don't feel the social tensions as much as you could in other places. That doesn't mean that there's not issues and that there's not little spats, if you will, but it's not as noticeable as in other places. There's a little interracial confrontation, discrimination. I've watched a few school board meetings and where parents come in and talk about it, and that's at the high school level. We have no gangs in D38. They have, we've had some more discrimination against the LGBT groups as those are becoming more popular. That's becoming, awareness is being made, and clubs are being formed and stuff in the high school, middle school, and high school. So you have some discrimination there that has to be addressed. But down at the elementary school, you don't see that as much. There's definitely tension between the community and school board, which I will get into in on another slide. So I will delve into that. Clicks, you see it in the upper elementary, fifth, sixth grade, and then definitely middle school and high school academic ability. Definitely social classes. More people are moving into the monument area, and our school is getting larger. We have an influx of kids coming in. So, and because we have a couple of apartment complexes and townhomes, you're seeing a little more that there's becoming a gap in the social class. And then, of course, at the high school level, you see it in the sports and the different clubs that they have. You'll see your cliques. Previous community efforts. So this is where I want to talk about the social tension. I was going to delve into it. So most of the community efforts that have been put forth have been very successful. Like I was saying, like the businesses that have started up and all of that, all of those things. The one thing that we seem to be struggling with in Monument, and specifically, is we need a new elementary school. And really, we need an additional middle school. Our middle school is at max capacity and overflowing. So they've tried for the last 3 years to pass a bond. We call it Bond 4A. And that is, it was to build a new elementary school and convert our school, Bear Creek, back into the middle schools, because it was originally built to be a middle school. And it was a middle school for a hot second before they had to close Grace Best, which was another elementary school. And so they had to convert the middle school into Bear Creek. So the intentions are to build a new elementary school right next to Bear Creek and then transfer Bear Creek back to the middle school. Unfortunately, it is not passed. And the critics really say it's the public distrust. They do not trust the school board at all. And they think the district is not as transparent as they should be. And that the plan that they laid out is it's not as cost effective as it could be. The last time a bond passed in Monument was in 2006. And that's how we got Palmer Ridge High School. And we were able to make some upgrades to Lewis Palmer High School. So it's been a long time coming. And I found this, I included the website where I found this information. So that definitely has some serious effects in our community, not being able to get this bond passed. Here's my sources of information. So this is kind of where I found, let me see if I can, excuse me. This is where I found my information. There you go. For all this information about the community and our schools are on here. So looking at the power structures, I looked at the school, the district. And so it starts at the Board of Education. So we have our Board of Education, or school board, if you will. And then we have our superintendent, who then our building administrators fall under. And then we have our assistant principals. I included our instructional coaches because we have 2 instructional coaches at Bear Creek, and they are very good at helping the new teachers and giving assistance to the teachers. When you have a staff as big as ours, the principal and the assistant principals just cannot be everywhere. And so the instructional coaches are relied on heavily to help. You also have team leads because you have a school this big. You're looking at 4 to 6 teachers on a team. And so we have team leads who work hand in hand with our principal and then report to us. And then we have our grade level teams. So that's kind of the breakdown of Bear Creek, from the Board of Education, who hires the teachers and the administration, the superintendent, who kind of, is in charge of making sure everybody's doing, running the district, and then our principal. And our principals, the principals have they have a lot of free reign, if you will. The district has certain subject areas that in elementary school, the curriculum is picked for us, literacy is the only one that it's not. So math, science, and social studies, we're given, the district picks the curriculum, but and that is the there is a team that comes together and pulls some different curriculums. The public is brought in, the community and parents are encouraged to stop by the district office and peruse the materials. And we have a group of teachers from all over at the elementary level from all the schools that come together and discuss, look at the pros and cons, go through the books, and then they push it up to their recommendation up to the Board of Education, and the school board members vote on it. The literacy ELA program, that is dependent on your school in elementary. So the building administrator has the say in that. So that's kind of the power structures in our school. Multicultural issues. So I said there's not a lot of thought given on it. We don't really do a lot on multicultural issues because of our population, and it's a very Christian-based population. There's not a lot. In recent times, we just last year did a professional development on responsive classroom, and that's more toward making personal connections, especially kids, between our students, and having them start recognizing, like, just because this person you don't hang out with on a regular basis, you still have things in common, and trying to create more of a positive classroom connection. We've had some book studies on cultural diversity and empathy. Fostering Resilient Learners and The Whole Brain Child were the most recent ones that I did with the school. The Knowledge Gap is what they're working on this year. So those are some things that they do in our building. So looking at public opinion, so they do a spring survey every year that goes out in an email to the staff, parents, and students. It's basically looking at D38's performance. They have a group of leaders that get together to analyze it, and that's kind of where it stays. So we don't get a lot of feedback from it. We hear about it in the fall. Briefly, the principal will touch on it, but there's nothing else is done with it. Facebook has parent groups, and those are pretty vocal. You can definitely see the pros and cons in every school when you look at the parents. It definitely got a little thick and heavy there during the bond last year when they were trying to pass the bond. They did a survey after the bond failed the second time, and that's where they found the distrust between the community and the school board. So I think, looking at this, there needs to be a little more transparency on the results of the polls, especially that spring survey. A little more accountability and action taken from these. I know that, there needs to be some follow-up, I believe, with the spring surveys. And it would probably be helpful if they did another survey on why the bond did not pass this last time and try to come up with ways to correct it. So looking at our standard, wrapping this up. So our standard was that I would be able to understand and demonstrate the capacity to promote the current and future success and well-being of each student and adult by applying the knowledge, skills, and commitments necessary to engage families, community, and school personnel in order to strengthen student learning, support school improvement, and advocate for the needs of their school and community. So looking at this standard, I wrote, in order for administrators in schools to strengthen their students' learning and supporting school improvement, I think you really must know and understand the dynamics of the community in which the school resides in. You have to make connections and be present in this community, advocate for the best, what's best for your students. And that really means you're going to have to, as a leader, you need to be able to communicate, listen, and involve the families and and the community. And then by learning, and then, this assignment, I learned more about the school and the district, of course, but really I got to see more about the community and how it enables us as future leaders to have a better grasp of how to best support our students. the relevancy statement, how this was related to me. So I did not live in Monument when I taught there. I lived on the north side of Colorado Springs. And so it really allowed me, this assignment allowed me to delve deeper into the dynamics of the community and see what it's about. This is a community that I truly adore, and it's a place where we would really like to retire. And so I really wanted to see more about this community. So I was excited to learn more about it. I have a better understanding about the resistance and the mistrust within the community when it comes to the school board. I think in order for this bond to be passed, in order to get this elementary school built, we're going to have to really be active as a district and get out there and show a huge support for it and educate this community. And I think the school board is really going to have to do some deep digging and really get out there and engage with the community to improve their image. Personal reflection. So looking at this and thinking about as a future leader, like I said, I love this community. It's a great community. And I think, though, as moving forward, whether I go back and teach in this district or not, our building leaders and the school board and the administration and the superintendent, they're going to have their hands full with the amount of houses that are being built in this community. That means more families are moving in, and our already bulging classrooms are going to be overflowing. And so it's going to be, if I was there working in this district, it's going to be, fall on me as well as my colleagues to really help motivate and advocate for the necessary changes to help our students keep receiving the best education possible. And that concludes Module 4. Thank you.